It is just about time for us to get started, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to this evening's edition of College Admissions 101, a deep dive into essay writing. So tonight I am joined by a different counselor than usual, so I'm going to quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Katy Dunn. If you've been with us before, you've had a chance to hear from me. I am one of the educational counselors here at PrepMatters. And that means that I spend most of my time helping families make educational decisions on all the different parts and aspects of their educational journey. And I'm going to ask my colleague Maureen to introduce herself as well.
Hello, and I'm Maureen Delaney, and I'm an educational counselor as well. And we're excited to get started today and talk about college essays and really just understand the whole concept of writing about yourself. So I'll let Katy get started.
So the basic tenet of our essay process, as you've heard if you were here with us last week, is that colleges really are using these essays as an effort to get an authentic sense of who you are. And so this is one of the things you'll notice we say on this slide, that this is about U.S. college admissions. It's a very different kind of essay than you will be writing if you are applying to colleges overseas. But in the U.S., we really want your essay to just sound like you and give colleges a glimpse into who you are. Now, just to remind us kind of where this falls in the process, I'm going to start with a slide that we often start with. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But we do have some information from colleges. Every year, about 400 colleges across the country. Now remember, there are more than 3,000 colleges and universities in the US, but about 400 of them are surveyed by an organization called the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. And the NAC asks them, hey, how are you using all these different pieces of information that you have in your application? What does it mean as you are sitting around trying to figure out who gains admission to your school? And as you can look at this chart, you'll see that for most schools, the academic pieces are at the top of the list, but then right beneath that is where we find the essay or writing sample. So for most schools, we see that once they've kind of determined that you are capable of meeting their academic goals and of being successful academically on their campus, the next thing they are trying to figure out is who are you and who are you bringing to their school. And the essay can have a lot of parts of this process that it can help you kind of give that impression to the schools.
So they'll receive, I'm sorry, your application, and they'll be looking at your grades and your scores, the courses that you're taking, all really important information, most important. And then right along with that is the information that you can choose, you can write about in order to reveal who you are, what type of person you are, what you care about. And that's the creative aspect that you have here.
The reason we've invited Maureen here tonight is that she is an essay master. She is an artist and much better at the creative pieces of this than either Jeff or I am. So just a quick reminder, if you were with us last week, or an introduction if you didn't have a chance to come to that seminar, you will be writing two main types of essays. The first essay is kind of a longer essay that goes to just about every college, and it's typically a story of your personal growth. One of the things that is critical, that we sort of pointed out about that essay, is that you do have prompts for it on the Common App or the Coalition app, but they're not important. No one cares what prompt you use for your main essay.
They can all be summarized. If I can just say, they can all be summarized other than describe the first prompt with the Common Application, which is a background piece of information that's critical to reading your essay, your application. Now that is unique in itself, or a topic of your choice, but really the rest of the prompts are asking you, tell us about a challenge, tell us about an event or an interest where that was really pivotal in how you approach your life. So it's really asking you to describe insights or a story of personal growth.
Exactly.
And some little spark that initiated that personal growth.
Maureen, do you want to then tell us what the difference is when we get to the supplemental essays?
Sure, sure. So, the supplemental essays. Okay, so you have your main essay, and it would be that story of personal growth, that pivotal event, accomplishment, challenge that really brought you to who you are now. And colleges are really interested in who you are now because you're closer to who you will be when you start school in another year. So it's really a story about now, with those pivotal pieces being the sparks to who you are now. And then the supplemental essays, schools are going to have their individual prompts, and they're going to have varied interests and asking you additional information. So they're typically shorter. Reading the prompts is really critical. They're asking you specific information, and it could be about an extracurricular, about your values. We're going to get more into that as we roll along here.
And I just want to highlight one thing that Maureen said that I think is so important. I was on a webinar this morning with an admissions director from a university who said exactly that point, that when you are a junior or a senior in high school, they know that you are much closer to who you will be when you get to that college campus than you were when you were a freshman or a sophomore in high school. So they are really looking to see kind of who are you right now, so that we can help predict who you will be when you come join us on our campus. So today we're talking about supplemental essays, because although it might feel like the place to start is the main essay, in fact, we have found that it can make your process much easier and much more straightforward if you start first by thinking through some of the common supplemental essays. And the prompts are very important for two reasons. One, institutions write those essays with whatever reasons they have. They are trying to get particular information from you, and we can't know why. We can't know exactly what they are looking for. So it's important to answer the prompt as closely as you can so that whatever they're looking for will be embedded in your essay. But then the other piece of it, honestly, is a little bit more like why your English teacher asks you to write to a prompt. They want to make sure you can follow directions. They want to make sure you are paying attention to their application and not just sending the same essays all over the country to apply to every school you can think of. So
just a little bit of advice here. Stay flexible as you move through your college list and look at your supplemental prompts and read them and begin planning. Schools are going to be asking you for various information about yourself. So just, sort of stay buoyant.
Such great advice. So there's a couple different places you can find them. But honestly, right now, that's not really your first job. Because even though the Common App and the Coalition app have announced their prompts for this year, we know what those essays look like. Supplemental essay topics may change, and they are not usually confirmed by schools until later in the summer, often by August 1st. Now, this year might be a little different. I think it's one of the things we really don't know, and in all of the different questions that college admissions teams are trying to answer right now, my guess is that supplemental essay topics is not high on their list of priorities. So I suspect we won't know for certain what the specific topics look like until later in the summer. But we find that many common topics come up. And so starting with those topics, which might feel a little counterintuitive, we're going to spend this time tonight, Maureen and I, telling you to start writing essays, even though you don't have the questions yet, even though you might not know what colleges you are applying to yet. But it's a great strategy. Sorry, did I cut you off there, Maureen? Did you want to jump in?
Oh, no, I'm listening. But I can add that keep it, that this,
my dog,
the essays, all the responses will be about you. You're the expert here, and you will have the answers to these prompts. It will take planning to really craft an interesting, thoughtful, polished response. But remember, you are the subject here, so you do have all the answers.
You have all the information you need. So the three main points of why we do this are sometimes you get in the habit of writing a good college essay before you dig into that sort of more intentional, more intense one, the main one. It also gives you a chance to be in control of your schedule, which I do think is even more critical this year. And then the big reason that we recommend you start thinking about these early topics is what I call, and I didn't tell Maureen I was going to call it this, I call the risk of double exposure. And I want to tell you about a student I know. So again, Maureen, as Maureen pointed out, admissions officers want to get to know you. And so if you have just in that one application, a couple different places that you get to introduce yourself, you don't want to talk about the same thing in more than one of those places. You want to make sure you are using every piece of space you have, every list of activities, every letter of recommendation, and every essay to show a different aspect of who you are. Because there's no 20 or 30 page application that can show everything about a student. And so you want to do your best to not repeat yourself. And then the most critical reason, I think, is if you don't start with these common topics, if instead you decide to start with your main essay topic, and you decide to write about, I worked with a young man this year who had his Common App already. He was writing a great, really compelling 600-word essay about why he wanted to be a dentist. And it was a great essay. And then we started looking at his applications, and a number of his applications asked him as a supplemental essay why he wanted to study pre-dental health care or science, or what his career goals were, or why he wanted to study the particular major he had chosen. And he didn't have anything left to say because he had said it all already in the Common App. And that's what I think of as one of the struggles of double exposure, is you can box yourself into a corner if you don't think about the fact that you're going to be asked some of these common supplemental topics. So these are the main kind of groups that we see come up all the time. And we will spend tonight looking at some ways that different colleges are asking what really fall into these same categories. The questions sometimes sound a little different, but they are really asking about these kind of general boxes. Maureen, do you want to walk us through what these big categories are?
Sure. So the first, values. What's meaningful to you? The colleges are asking, tell us about something that's very compelling to you, because we want to get to know you through what you care about. Diversity. Tell us about you and among people, your perspective on the world. We're going to get into each of these in detail. Extracurriculars, they're looking for that one most meaningful engagement. It may be an extracurricular you've been a leader, or it might be something you've been involved in where you've just been a volunteer or participant. It's really up to you to think about what's been most rewarding to you. Why us? So why do you want to attend our university? Create a fit here. You tell us why we're the perfect place for you. Course of study. What do you want to study? Why? And again, why here?
And sometimes you won't even know, and they'll ask you to think about that as well, about what you maybe want to study, even if you're not quite ready to declare that. And then this year,
essay, if I could just add the essays, in addition to being who you are now, your essay may also suggest your vision for yourself. You don't have to have a major, you don't have to know what you want to study, but sometimes what you care about and what you see for yourself as you move forward into college may intersect, and you're not stating your major, but you can kind of hint at where you might be going. Right. It's a good exercise.
And that's the kind of reflection and analysis that colleges want to see you doing in these essays. And this year, I think many of us quite naturally will want to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic for the next several years. And we've actually heard a couple of college admissions officers remark that they are probably going to add that question to their applications to give you a chance to reflect on how you used this time or how the fear or experience might have impacted you. And just yesterday, the Common App itself, so if you've been with us, you may recall that the Common App is really the main platform that most students will use to apply to college. About 900 schools use the Common App. It's actually the Common Application, but most of us have shortened that to this nickname. About 900 schools use it for their admissions, and so chances are you will be writing it. And they announced yesterday that they are exploring a way to give a particular spot to talk about what you were doing with this time, to have it for you or your counselors or your family to kind of reflect on what impact COVID-19 might have had on your high school experience, because the application is about you in high school, and this is obviously a critical experience for everyone going through it right now, for all of us going through it right now. So let's dig into the way some of these look at particular schools. You want to start, Maureen?
Sure. I'm just going to add quickly, we're talking about reflection, and you might wonder, okay, practically speaking, what does this mean? So before we run through the various supplemental essays, I just want to say one practical way to get started is remember the activity list. If you are writing down your activities, looking at how you've spent your summers, your freshman year, how did you get to where you are now? And creating that list for your application, that's a good way to begin thinking deeply about each of those choices you made. That will give you that reflective piece and the choices that you can then apply to these categories. Okay, so value.
Smart advice, and everyone will need a resume, as we talked about last night. So keeping that list is a great first step.
Yeah. So with your activities and events in your life in mind, okay, the first, I'll read to you Virginia Tech, what they're putting out there. Briefly describe a personal goal you have set for yourself. Why this goal? What is your timeline to achieve this goal? What precipitated this goal? Have you turned to anyone for advice or help? What was their role? What did you learn about yourself? Are you still looking toward this goal? So again, I'll just take the last part first, but what did you learn about yourself? And are you still working toward this goal? Again, that event, that piece of insight as a result, but really the value, the values part here is, what is your goal? And how did you come to choose this goal, right? So it's about personal choice and goals. And why, and I have to say that admissions folks are excited for you as you start your undergraduate career. So they're like, what are you looking toward? What do you know about yourself? So any personal goal, your choice. And then
just a side note, Virginia Tech only gives you 120 words for this essay. So it takes some time to dig deep and make those words count to answer all of these pieces in 120 words.
Yeah. So again, that thought, when we've described thoughtful essays, it has to be thoughtful because it has to be clear and short. So clarity and brevity here. So Jesuit, so here's Boston College. Jesuit education considers the liberal arts a pathway to intellectual growth and character formation. What beliefs and values form your decisions and actions today? And how will Boston College assist you in becoming a person who thinks and acts for the common good? So again, Boston College wants to know what is it that guides you, what beliefs and values, what guides you and informs your decisions and your actions. So what is the foundation of the decisions that you make for yourself? And how can Boston College, how can they help you become the person who thinks and acts for the common good, who thinks and acts for others, right? So what's guiding you and how can they help you become the person that you want to become? This is really about life philosophy, right?
It is. It really is.
About that.
And related to values, a lot of colleges are asking specifically about diversity. And sometimes that question is about how do you appreciate and work for diversity. Sometimes it is specifically about how do you bring diversity, what experiences will you bring to our campus. So we look at kind of two different ways here. The NC State, North Carolina State University asks you to describe how you will contribute to or benefit from campus diversity. So NC State is a community that is strong because of the diversity of perspectives and experiences. So it really wants you to think about yourself. Like, I'm going to be on this campus. How will I be learning from and sharing with everyone around me who maybe has a different background or a set of experiences?
Yeah, schools, undergraduate programs are really interested in what you will contribute to the campus, and their goal is to build just a whole class full of interesting and diverse people. So how do you fit in there, right? What will you bring?
There has been a lot of work, a lot of research done showing that students are most likely to be successful in graduating on time and getting a job after college if they were engaged in their campus life. So colleges are looking for this, not just because they want everyone to be happy and friends, but also because it has very real consequences to make sure they are supporting their students. So the second one we have here, much longer, here at USD, it's the University of San Diego. We believe that our campus community and the communities we engage in are integral parts of who we are as a university. So they are really identifying with the fact that each of us, when we are part of a community, that community is also a part of us. Our students come from all walks of life, have experienced very different realities, and bring with them an array of unique perspectives. Some of these perspectives are underrepresented and underserved by higher education. What contribution have you made to your high school and your local community that best exemplifies your awareness and commitment to creating a diverse and equitable community? So it's a slightly different angle on the question. On the first hand, with NC State, we're being asked, what am I going to bring forward? And in the second one, it's asking you for some concrete examples of what you have already done to appreciate or understand or grow the value of diversity in your own community. But here's the thing, they're still kind of asking the same question, because if I'm going to answer the diversity question for NC State, I'm probably going to talk about what I have already done. That's the example I'm going to use to explain what I will contribute to or benefit from campus diversity. So in both cases, they're really asking you to reflect on your current experience of this kind of diversity and of how your engagement in community now and in the future will reflect that commitment. So I should have put this one first. It's always the one I tell kids to start with, but I didn't. I messed up on the PowerPoint. Do you want to jump in on this one, Maureen?
Sure. Extracurriculars. So that activity list. This is where you're looking. Oh, look at all these things that you've been involved with. Sports. Maybe you've had a part-time job. So get that list together and think about it. But Georgetown University is going to ask you. Briefly discuss the significance to you of the school or summer activity in which you have been most involved. And this is a half-page, single-spaced. Okay, so you have to think about where have you been engaged? What was really compelling to you? And you want to choose something that you have really been involved with because you want that authentic voice to come through that really describes something of a commitment, right? And that's been rewarding to you. If you could only do one of the activities you have listed in the activities section of your Common App, which one would you keep doing and why? So again, what was most important? What's been most significant to you? And you know, Did it teach you a great deal about life? Did you learn the rewards of giving to other people? You know, what activity has been most important to you? And then please briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work experiences. Again, some 150 to 400 words from Vanderbilt. So just elaborate, choose what you want to think about here is, okay, what was my main essay about? Again, that balancing act for each of these supplemental essays, balance and say, okay, I have a choice here, any one of these extracurriculars. What have I not spoken about? What gifts or strengths have I not shared with the colleges so far?
Such a good point. One of the reasons Georgetown is on here is they are one of the schools that really asks you to write a bunch of different essays. And so if you haven't done that kind of thinking, you can dig yourself into a bit of a hole. Georgetown usually asks for your main essay and a full page essay on why you are choosing to study the thing you want to study, and this short essay. And then they have this other little short essay on, please describe a special talent. And I find that one can sort of, maybe that is my extracurricular. Maybe my special talent is tap dancing and my extracurricular is also dance. And so you need to be able to kind of pick these things apart to make sure that you are highlighting all the different parts of both your experience and just your character and your personality. Now, this is one of the most common ones we see. Lots of schools will ask you some variation on why us, why this university, why this school. And they care. They really want to know, particularly if you look at all of these schools that I've put on this list. These are all schools that are near a lot of other great universities. So what about being a student at Boston University most excites you? So the answer to that can't be, well, I want to be in Boston. It's a great town. Because there's like 107 colleges in Boston. And so they're asking you to very specifically think about not just, oh, it's a good school and it's a good town and I can get there pretty easily on the train. They want you to really think about, what will the experience of being a student feel like, and what about that excites you? And that's,
you've probably heard about finding a good fit in a college. This is where you need to describe the good fit and why this university, Boston, excites you and why you're interested in American U.
Exactly. One of the sort of traps that I think students often fall into when they are writing this Why Us essay is they try to tell the school a whole bunch of things that they know about the school. They might say, I am interested in American University because you have a great program in X, and you have a great professor who does X, and you won the basketball tournament last year, and there was so much school spirit. But the trick is, if you are telling the college a lot of things about the college, then you're not really telling them much about yourself. So you need to be able to find a balance that demonstrates that I know some things about this school and that I have chosen it because it's a good fit, that I have thought about what I'm looking for in a college, and I know why these schools have those things. I love in particular the way Wake Forest asks, how did you become interested in us and why are you applying? I think that gives the students a little bit of guidance on the kind of thinking they want you to do. They want to understand your thought process. What was it about Wake that drew you to us? Who told you about us? Do you know students who have gone here? Have you visited campus? And then once you knew all those things, what made you think, okay, out of those 3,000 schools in the country, this is one that I'm going to apply to. And Wake Forest University usually has, what was it this year, Maureen, 8 or 9 supplemental essays?
Yes.
They have a lot of essays.
Lists. Yes, they have it all.
And so if you have decided to apply, you have decided to put some effort into this. If you're writing 10 essays, even though they're short, they still take real thought. And so that why are you applying question, I think, is really important, because they know that if you are deciding to apply, you are giving them a lot of your time and a lot of your energy, and they want to understand what about their school felt important enough to take that time from you. So these are essays that I find that students sometimes dread writing, because there's an element of the college process, right, where you're just like, I just want to go to college. I just want someone to accept me into college. Like, that's why. So I find that this one sometimes can feel a little tricky. But again, if you know now that they're coming, if you know at the early part of your research that you're going to be writing these essays, then take some notes, write down some things that you're excited about all those schools. It will help you find your good fit. It will help you balance your list and create a list, and it will help you be ready to write these essays when the time comes. Sometimes the why us essay is a tricky why us, but also why are you studying that essay? Do you want to walk us through these academic interest ones, Maureen?
Sure. And just to say, so when you sit down and a school has multiple essays, read them all. And again, back to that diagram of balancing out your subject matter to make sure you represent yourself in the strongest light possible. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So academic interest. Why are you interested in the major you indicated as your first choice major? Okay, so the school asked you first choice, second choice, possibly third choice of academic areas, majors that you will pursue. And then they're going to ask you why. Why are you interested in this major? And so a little bit of just backing up your experience in this discipline, whether it's the sciences or math, and telling a little bit about your personal experience with this content. You know, did it start in high school? Was it something you always wanted to do? But again, you want to move beyond the general, say, you know, rather than just saying I want to major in biology because I wanted to be a doctor since I was a child. You really want to get into the specifics of this first choice major. And again, remember to keep things up to date, meaning you're applying as a junior, and to keep things, keep your content very much of the moment. Okay, so NYU, we would like to know more about your interest in NYU. What motivated you to apply to NYU? It sounds a little bit like why us, but in addition, why have you applied or expressed interest in a particular campus, school, college program, or area of study? If you have applied to more than one, please also tell us why you were interested in these additional areas of study or campus. We want to understand why NYU. So it allows you to go a little bit deeper into, again, your area of interest, and for you to make a compelling statement as to why the school speaks to your future goal, right? So tell us about your interests. Give us some details. Tell us, you know, what it is about NYU. Is it the school in Shanghai? You know, tell us about your language abilities. Give us the details that we don't have so far about your intended discipline or major. University of Wisconsin-Madison, tell us why you decided to apply to Wisconsin. In addition, please include why you are interested in studying the major you have selected. If you selected undecided, please describe your areas of possible academic interest. So again, this is the area where they really want to know about your intellectual curiosity. So that's what you really need to address in these prompts, and to sit down and think carefully. Now, you're not committed, you know, in some cases, unless you're applying to the engineering school, but you want to really think about how you're going to proceed, you know, with some sort of idea of your goals within the undergraduate program.
That's a really great point, that you are not in most cases declaring a major, You are just helping them see how your brain works. What, as Maureen said, excites your intellectual curiosity. You'll notice actually all of these schools are kind of on the bigger end of schools. Often they are, as they are thinking about how they are building a class, they are thinking about, well, we could use some more history majors. And or we've got a whole lot of psychology majors this year. So you wanna really be authentic in what you want to study. And NYU is one of the ones that I find so interesting. I would say probably a half or more of the students that I start working with at some point tell me they want to go to NYU. Is that true for you, Maureen? Well, Maureen used to live in New York, so. And it's often, and I think it's such an appealing school that they get a lot of applications from students who may not actually know that much about the university itself. This year, they actually put out on Twitter a video with the top 10 things they wanted to see in the answer to this question. And the number 7 or 8, I think, was don't tell us why New York, tell us why NYU. So they were like, we do want to make sure you understand what you are as how you will be as a student.
You'll be in school. Yes.
Right. We're a school.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we thought we would wrap up a little early tonight, and I think we are in good shape. We want to get some more questions. We've got some time for that. But here's the big picture for you right now. We have an essay webinar next week at this time that will really dig into starting on how to get started on these. And then after that, for the next couple weeks, we will dig into each of these common topics and work through and do some workshop. You'll come out of it with some products where you do some workshopping on the real writing. But the big picture right now is to plan ahead so that you have a chance to take a look at your whole application for each school from that 30,000 foot view and make sure you're covering all aspects of who you are so that the school has a lot to get to know. And I think that's even more critical this year than ever, since we know a lot of students are experiencing a lot of loss right now, loss of a spring baseball season, or a loss of a chance to be in the musical, or to participate in a national competition. And so if you don't have as much stuff on your application, you really want to make sure that you use these essays as a chance to dig in and really talk about who you are. So that's the first big picture. The second one is that with the supplemental essays, you really want to answer the question. You really want to make sure that you are clear and following directions and paying attention and not just saying the same thing to Boston University that you said to NYU. And then,
sorry, I just want to add that the practical piece here, if you just, again, like the activity list, that's your personal reflection. But if you want to do a little bit of research, you know, it can be quite entertaining just to read the supplemental essay prompts. So that's something that you can do now just to get an idea of, it can actually be a great way to brainstorm. Is you're not committed to a list yet, but say, let me just look and see what people are asking. Again, as Katie said, the final essay prompts will not be in until after August 1st. But like I said, it's a good practical way just to kind of plan and brainstorm.
That is great advice. And again, you can find those prompts on your Common App if you have created an account for them. You can often find them on the website. You can just kind of Google Georgetown University supplemental essays and they'll pop up. And for those of you that are PrepMatters students, then you can find them all in your College Planner Pro account. So it is great to read them. And we've only been talking tonight about the most common ones. As we mentioned in one of our essays webinars last week, a lot of them are also just very entertaining. They're asking for humorous and clever and thoughtful responses. So sometimes they're, dare I say it, even kind of fun to read.
Yes, they are. They can be. And it's really just, these are ways, again, getting back to that creative space that you have, it's a way to make yourself stand out.
Exactly. So again, this is us. We are always happy to answer any questions if you have them during the webinar or later. You can email any questions about the webinars we are doing or the webinars that our colleagues are doing on AP and other academic subjects, you're welcome to email to classes@prepmatters.com. You can always call us. And then our email addresses for if you heard something really interesting that Maureen said or something really confusing that I said, you're welcome to reach out directly to us. And if you are a Twitterer, we have our Twitter addresses up there. We are using these days the hashtag PMTV for all of the classes that we are doing right now to try and just help all students realize that they have access to good quality support while you're going through what we know is a really challenging time. So please reach out if you have any questions. And otherwise, next week I think a question just popped up. Oh, what a lovely comment. Thank you so much. And then next week we will see you here for getting started, for digging in and starting some essays, starting some writing, which sometimes getting started is the hardest part. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being our brilliant host.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.